Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk about the new movie Dungeons & Dragons: Honor Among Thieves. A couple of my friends and I had the opportunity to see the early release of this movie, so I had to go check it out. The synopsis is as follows. A charming thief and a band of unlikely adventurers embark on an epic quest to retrieve a long-lost relic. But their harrowing adventure goes dangerously awry when they run into the wrong people. So without further ado, let's get into the 6 things that make a movie great. 1. The plot. Upon this movie's start, there's a man named Edgin and his counterpart, Holga, who find themselves in a maximum security prison in the middle of nowhere. But we quickly find out why. Over the past couple years, Edgin has collected a group of people all with different skills, and they've become quite an adept group of thieves. While they're celebrating at a tavern, a wizard approached them and she asks for their help to steal from a very buckled down vault full of treasure and artifacts, one of those artifacts being one that can bring Edgin's late wife back from the dead. Things go awry and they find themselves in this prison, which they very quickly escape from. Now they must track down their team, find out what went wrong, save Edgin's daughter, and try to bring his wife back from the dead. I felt that probably the first fourth of this movie was pretty convoluted. They throw a lot of plot points and characters and groups and archetypes at you very quickly. After you kind of get the base understanding of what's going on, things go a bit more smoothly. There's some adventure, there's intrigue, there's mystery, and most of all, there's an imperfect but good group of characters fighting a very clear-cut evil. And for me, that's really refreshing because as of late, it seems like movies have a hard time wanting to commit to there being clearly evil characters and not just trying to write them in like an anti-hero storyline. So I really enjoyed the clear-cut lines about this movie. It wasn't the best adventure story that I've ever seen in my life, but I had a good time watching it. So plot for me gets a thumbs up. 2 is family friendliness. Dungeons & Dragons: Honor Among Thieves is rated PG-13. I know there's a lot of negativity and hesitation behind letting people play D&D, much more letting them go see a movie that's supposedly about D&D. So let me clear something up. D&D players will see the D&D elements in this movie that there are, but there's nothing being shoved in your face or down your throat in this movie. There's minimal profanity, there's some action and violence, but not a ton. And the only thing that makes me err on the side of caution about this movie is that the clear-cut evil is evil. None of what they do is overdone, they're not pushing the boundaries on anything, but the clearly evil characters in this movie have darkness about them, but it's not worse than anything else you've seen before. I guess if you're sensitive to witches and witchcraft and spells and just the general realm of fantasy, then you probably wouldn't want to let your kids see this movie. But I better not see you playing Hogwarts Legacy on the weekend either then. So for me, family friendliness gets a 50-50. 3 is acting and script. There were a handful of talented actors and actresses in this movie. One of my favorite performances was from Michelle Rodriguez. She plays Holga, who clearly has strength dialed up very high but didn't put as many points in intelligence, and it provides some pretty humorous moments throughout the film. I also like Justice Smith as Simon, and I think he does a great job playing a kind of unconfident wizard. I also enjoyed Sophia Lillis as Doric, but I wish they would have given her a bigger role in this movie because she's not in it that much. And while Chris Pine and Hugh Grant both did decent jobs in their respective roles, I didn't think their performances were that incredible. Now on to the script. I was kind of divided about the script of this movie. There were some funny moments written into the script that I enjoyed, but there weren't that many of them. My friend and I were talking after the movie, and while we were glad that the movie wasn't trying to be Thor Ragnarok, I also think that they could have stood to make the movie a little bit more funny. And the only other issue that I had with acting and script is that some of the moments of this film, I don't know if it's the audio tuned down or what, but you can't hear what actors are saying. It happens several times throughout the film, and I was just like, I'd really love to know what they're saying, but they're so quiet. So while the script wasn't super adventurous and super funny, I think it did a decent job, as did the actors and actresses in this film. So for me, acting and script get a 50-50. 4 is character development. While this movie has very minimal character development, I think they did a decent job giving it to the characters who needed it the most. This whole story has to do with Edgin and his pursuits of his daughter and his wife, so he gets the most character development. You get some with Holga, although I will say it comes at the expense of what should have been a really funny cameo that actually was not funny at all. And then you get very little with characters like Doric and Simon.
But with that, I will say that I never truly was able to buy into the father-daughter relationship that this movie presented. In fact, the relationship and character arc of Edgin and his daughter is by far the weakest and most unbelievable part of the movie, which when most of your movie is based upon the drive behind these characters, that affects it quite a bit. And also, while Safina has no character development at all, because she's so obviously evil, it works for the concept of this movie.
It wasn't super in-depth, but it did its job, so for me, character development gets a 50-50. 5 is visuals and CGI. I really liked some of the visuals in this movie, but I will say some of the smaller CGI moments stuck out like a sore thumb. I definitely was hoping to see more action in this film as well as humor, because there's not a lot of cool things happening as often as they should be happening, especially in a movie about D&D. But for what we did get to see, it was fun to watch, and I appreciated the creativity. So for me, visuals and CGI, I get a 50-50. And 6 is rewatchability. Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves is 2 hours and 20 minutes long. But to be completely honest with you, I did not feel like it was that long of a movie. Which when that happens, it oftentimes points to the fact that you're enjoying the movie more than you thought you would. It was really nice to go out and watch an action-adventure movie that truly provided escapism and didn't try to force anything on you or try to remind you of the real world. This movie really felt semblant of old action-adventure medieval films that I've seen in the past, where escapism and creativity were at the forefront of what it was doing, and it worked. So for me, rewatchability gets a thumbs up. With all these areas considered, I have to give Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves 7.5 out of 10. This movie had decent acting performances and character development, a good plot that kept you engaged for the whole film, clear-cut good versus evil, and decent closure at the end of the movie for a decent overall film that I really enjoyed. It didn't have as much humor, action, and adventure as I hoped for, but it had a nice balance of the three. So with that being said, if you're looking for an action-adventure film with some humor and clear-cut good versus evil, or you're an avid D&D player or fan, I think Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves might be worth checking out in movie theaters. Thank you so much for watching. If you've seen Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves, please let me know what you thought about it in the comments below. As always, I appreciate your love and support, and I'll catch you guys and gals in the next one.